Hello everyone, hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today we have a lot of different enlisted news to go through, so I'll be breaking this up into sections. At first I'll be going through just the new major update that's coming out, then I'll go over the premium squads, then I'll go over the mini event that's happening, and then lastly I'll cover my thoughts on the new desertion system and the map preference system. So I'll leave timestamps on the video, and let's get right into it. So starting off with, we have a new major update, and it looks like it's going to be mostly Japan focused, although some other pretty cool stuff. The very first thing is, I believe this is going to be the first texture weapon that has a suppressor, and this is a PPSH 41. And the PPSH 41, there's already a PPD 40 with suppressor, so this will be kind of similar to it, although this is supposed to have 1,150 rounds per minute versus the PPD 40 only having around 900. And I've enjoyed using suppressed weapons. I'm glad we're finally getting something in the tech tree. I hope that means we'll get some other stuff soon too. I have the Irma EMP that's suppressed. The MP40 suppressed is also a lot of fun. And I have a Sten that has a suppressor. And in my experience, the suppressor makes you less likely to be targeted by AI when you're opening fire. Also, because your gun is quieter, players are less likely to notice, and it hides their muzzle flash quite a bit, and you don't have nearly as much of a noticeable tracer. So it's a very good style weapon. It's going to be interesting having so many of them on the battlefield now, with them being a tech tree. But I've enjoyed using them. Strangely, I felt any weapon that's had a suppressor just seems to be more accurate than their unsuppressed versions. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It's just been my experience using them for a couple years. But it's a pretty cool weapon. I'm excited to have it in the game. That's all we got for Russia, though. And then for Germany, we have the Jagdpanther. This will be at BR5. Oh, that's the other thing. The PPSH 41 is at BR5, and the PPD 40, I believe, was at BR4. But the Jagdpanther, this is BR5, 88mm, heavily sloped armor. It should be pretty solid. Kind of a different take instead of taking the King Tiger every time, so it should be fun. I don't know if it's necessarily better than the King Tiger because the turret is just really helpful, but you are a little bit lower profile, and actually this is the command version of it too, because it's got the antenna. So this is the Befehlswagen Jagdpanther, which is pretty cool. It's a premium in War Thunder, and I think it'll be a tech tree version here, so that's cool. It does have a coaxial hull-mounted machine gun. Well, I guess it's not coaxial, but it is a hull-mounted MG34. For the Americans, we have the M36. I think this is the Jackson. But it's got 90mm cannon, which is going to be similar to the M26 Pershing. So very, very good cannon. It says it'll penetrate 150mm of armor at 100 meters, which is probably a decent engagement range for Enlisted. Normally with War Thunder, I tend to go with what's at 500 meters, but for Enlisted, probably 100 meters is probably pretty good. Open topped, going to be kind of similar to an M10 or an M18, probably closer to an M10 because of its speed. It's not going to be that fast. The M18 is very fast. So there's going to be a lot of different playstyles now. You could do Pershing or Super Pershing for something a little bit more heavily armored and more of a frontline tank. This is probably going to want to sit back and snipe a little bit more. Again, I don't know if it's better than what's already in the tech tree, but I always like having variety, so it's kind of cool. The Pershing, or at least the Super Pershing, I'm not sure about this on the regular one. You can't use your personal weapon on it, including binoculars, and you probably can with this. So if you're a fan of using your own personal weapon like a Thompson, or you want to be able to spot things with binoculars, this is a better pick. Otherwise, I'm gonna say probably the Pershing's still gonna beat this thing out most of the time. Japan, this is gonna have most of the stuff for this major update. We have the M2 carbine sawed off, and this is kind of similar to the Obrez that we got for Germany and also Russia. I don't know if it's going to go to assaulters or if it's going to be just a general purpose infantry weapon. The M2 carbine for Americans is already just an alternative to the T20, and I don't know if this will be that same kind of thing for the Japanese. or if it's supposed to be a submachine gun for them. I could see it either way, although I don't know, again, if it's going to be better than the Tokyo Arsenal SMG, which is a BR4. Because that's basically a Thompson with, I think, a 40 round magazine. So this is just a normal M2 carbine, which is a very good gun normally, that has a stock cutoff and the front sight cutoff. Same 30 round magazine. 8.3 damage seems higher, I think. I'm not actually that familiar with the M2 carbine. I don't really use it that much. I don't even play high tier that often, but I feel like that's higher, and I feel like that's too high for it to be an SMG. And it's not something that's a 45 like the Thompsons are. And then we also have two planes for Japan, the KI-100, which is, I think, a pretty solid plane. It's pretty maneuverable. It'll be a fighter. The bombs are probably pretty solid. A pair of 500 pounders for people who don't know what kilograms are. And a pair of 20s and a pair of 12.7 millimeters, pretty similar to the Zero. So nothing too different or crazy there. It's also a BR3. And then the N1K2, which I believe is the Rex, I think. That is a very solid plane. Quad 20mm cannons are going to kind of tear through infantry and lighter vehicles. Something like the new M36 is going to get torn apart by this administration. And it's got interesting rockets. It's only got two of them, but they do look like they're going to be pretty large caliber, so they're probably going to be similar to the German rockets. But that's it for the new stuff coming in update, other than the two new premium squads. The premium squads for the summer update look like they're going to be a lot of fun. They're both new Guerrilla squads, which is kind of cool because we haven't had any Guerillas in a while. And my only complaint about them is it's for Germany and America again. And the last bundle that we got for the Jet update was also a German and America bundle. But that's not really too much to complain about. For the Americans, we have a Commando squad with Thompsons. And it's a 5-man squad, which is pretty standard for Guerillas. They have suppressed Thompsons, which will be at BR4. It doesn't look like the drum mag Thompsons, which isn't the end of the world. That's still probably pretty good. I think it's it says a Thompson M1. So pretty good and suppressed, which will be very interesting. I'm glad we're getting some more suppressed weapons. And they also have a unique knife. And if you have the SAS squad already, it's the same knife. So that's kind of cool. It's used by both British Commandos and the SAS. So it's cool. It's a unique knife. It doesn't really have any purpose compared to something like a sword. It's still a knife, so you don't get to use it to charge. Also, it's kind of like if you picked up the NKVD knife from a couple events ago, it functions the same way as that. I don't think it does any more damage. I don't think it helps you sprint any better. It just is a skin for your knife, essentially. But it looks like it'll be kind of a fun squad. And then for the Germans, we have the Werewolves with SEG 44s, which are suppressed as well. And this is going to be a BR5. Should be kind of a fun squad. They got some interesting camouflage. And both squads just look really cool aesthetically, in addition to their weapons. But again, these are Guerillas, 5-man squad, and not too much else to say. I mean, it's SCG, it's suppressed. Suppressors are really kind of fun. They make it harder for the AI to shoot you, and you can kind of go about your day more. Normally, when I run my squads that have suppressors, I tend to have them in hold fire mode unless I fire, or until they're fired upon, kind of thing. So they don't just start spraying randomly, and that seems to give even better results. So it's kind of cool. There's different ways you can use them. Let me know if you guys have specific things that you're planning on using them for. I'll probably end up picking up this bundle. It's about $50 right now, and there is also pre-order bonuses right now. So and you can get these bonuses if you wait till after the update is out and you buy it within 14 days of the update coming out. So if you want to wait until you see how they actually perform in actual battles and don't want to just go off of someone's opinion, then you could definitely do that. And you also, but if you, and you still will get the pre-order bonuses. And the pre-order bonuses are a portrait with a guy with camouflage, and you get this dagger nickname decal for your nickname. So next, I will cover the little mini event. And this mini event is for the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Armed Forces. It's pretty small, but luckily it does coincide with the current event that's going on. So day one of this 2 day cycle is lined up with day one of the 2 day cycle of the Normandy Landings event, which is really nice because if you're completing one, you can pretty easily also knock out the other one. And the tasks for this aren't that difficult, and the reward is really, really nice. You get the 1911 Colt Swartz. I have, I think, one or two of these, and they are fantastic. The recoil is not that bad. It's kind of like a artillery Luger that's full auto and has an extended magazine. So it's great. It's a pistol, and it's really fun to use to knock out your pistol related tasks. So if you struggle with those, this is an event you definitely want to do because this pistol will help you complete those tasks relatively easily in the future. And the tasks themselves aren't too bad. Day 1 has you killing 120 enemies, kill 60 enemies with the submachine gun, and complete 5 battles. Phase 2 is kill 80 enemies using a bolt action rifle or semi-auto rifle. So basically anything that is just a basic infantryman's rifle that's not a assault rifle. And then kill 40 enemies with headshots. That's a little bit more difficult, but still probably doable. And then once again, complete 5 battles. Day 3 is destroy 5 enemy vehicles. And then kill 15 enemies with pistols, which I will be using my swords to do. And then complete 5 battles. So nothing that difficult. Sometimes some of the tasks are a little bit more challenging, but they're not too difficult, and each stage that you complete will also give you some other stuff like appearance change orders or some silver. There's some weapon upgrade sauce in there and stuff. So, pretty solid mini event, and if you're already working on doing the Normandy one, you'll just basically pick this up as you're doing that. And if you're just only trying to do this and haven't been grinding out the Normandy event, you'll still get a couple stages of the Normandy event too. Just a reminder that the Normandy event, you only need to get 20,000 points over a 2 day period, so it's not that impossible to get, especially if you haven't already do 5 battles to complete this one. Moving on to the last thing, which is the new penalty system for deserting, and also being able to pick your mission preferences and stuff. So I'll start, I guess, with the desertion thing. I am kind of mixed on this. I think that there definitely should be some kind of penalty for deserting a battle, and they definitely are doing that. If you leave a battle early, you will get a 20% reduction to all your rewards for the next 2 battles, which is a fine penalty. I don't really have a problem with what the penalty is. I think that's kind of fair. However, I feel like there's a lot of room for error with the system. It doesn't really say how it's going to work exactly, but it is a problem that has been occurring. But I think you need to be careful of where the timing of when you actually punish people is. Because people leaving in the first 15 or 20 seconds when they first load into a match, when everyone's still on a menu screen and picking their squad, not really a big deal. That doesn't really actually impact the team because it'll automatically fill in a new person into that slot. So you still have the same amount of people on each team, and you're not really hurting your team. So I think giving people a chance to leave if maybe something came up when they were loading in or they didn't realize they were already queuing for a match and they went to go do something, not a big deal. I think that shouldn't really be punished. Maybe even into like 30 seconds into the thing because maybe their connection is bad or it's lagging. I know I've had that a lot where I think the game is going to run fine and then it just starts having a problem and I leave the match early within like the first 30 seconds because it's just not running properly. I think giving people a little bit of grace is not a bad thing. Where it is annoying is when your team is desperately holding on at a point and one of your players leaves. And it doesn't even have to be one of your better players. Anybody, even if you're just throwing your bodies at the point, is still contributing in some way and is still helpful to the team. So even if you're the guy on the bottom of the leaderboard who only has a couple kills and a bunch of deaths, you are still helping out your team and keeping the enemy distracted and focused on trying to kill you, and allowing the rest of your team to still to do other stuff. So it doesn't matter who is leaving on the team. It's a problem when it's kind of in the middle of a match. So I get that penalty. It is a good penalty for when you leave mid-match, but if it's in the very beginning of the match, that's a problem. They do also specify that if you leave when your team is already out of respawn points, that you won't be penalized, which is a good thing. Although on rare occasions your team does end up managing to actually gain more respawn points and continue the fight, so that can be a little bit annoying missing somebody after that point, but it's kind of a fair exception to make. I just hope that when they do implement it, that they have a little bit of a grace period when a match starts and not immediately uh, start punishing people. But the punishment, relatively minor, a 20% penalty. For someone like me and like my family and stuff like that, we already have most of the things researched and have a lot of silver, so doesn't really matter all that much. It is a little bit annoying, but it's not really that big of a deal. And the easiest way around it is just don't leave your matches. Now, for the preferred mission system, I think this is great. War Thunder already has something just like this, and it's limited in there because there's so many matches or different map types and stuff, and half of the functionality is limited to only premium time in there. Where in War Thunder you can only ban maps that you don't want or dislike maps if you have premium time, and if you don't have premium time, then you're not able to do that. And it doesn't seem like it'll be the case here. It looks like you'll be able to like and dislike whichever maps you want. You have a limited number of them, and it'll be kind of cool. It's not, if you dislike a map, it doesn't mean you'll never get it, but you have a reduced chance of it. And supposedly it'll be all variations of that map. So sometimes like Algebra Farm and then Algebra Farm North and stuff like that. So all variations of that map are going to be included in that like or dislike. And it looks like it'll be based on like confrontation, invasion mode, conquest, all those different things, destruction. You can kind of filter out different stuff, which would be kind of cool. I think it's a great system letting people kind of pick and choose. And Enlisted's community is growing to the point where you can start having players start disliking maps and not wanting to play on them, and it won't affect matchmaking time that much. And unless it's early days, even like a year or two ago, having a system like this would have really killed the matchmaking. But now that Enlisted's on Steam and a lot more players are playing it, you can afford to do this. I mean, right now, if I queue for a match, I'm getting it in less than 5 seconds, if not even sooner. Like, it's basically instantaneous that you're able to find matches, regardless of what BR you're at and what country you're playing. It just seems like there's lots of players online, which is great. I've enjoyed this game for many years playing it now, and I'm glad that there's a lot of people who are enjoying the game, and that it's continuing to grow. Well, that's basically it. I think overall this will be a very positive major update, and Enlisted is going in a really good direction. We kind of had a rough start this year with a lot of delays on the early battle pass system changes and stuff, but right now going in a pretty good direction. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts on the new update, and if you guys are going to get the premium squad. If you want to see some videos covering the new premium squads, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.